You probably eat with one every day without giving it much thought. You know, that little bent thing you jab into your food and push it around your plate until your mouth can get to it. And over that time, there have been all kinds of different spoon designs, most of which you've never even heard of. From cups to shoes, here are some fascinating facts about the surprisingly long life of the spoon hoe. Basically anything that could hold food was fair game. Hands and mouths were used extensively, but so were shells, animal skulls, leaves, and gourds. Even in the earliest settlements, people recognized that containing liquids was a bigger problem than dealing with solids. At the time, it looked nothing like the spoons we're used to today. More like a scoop, really, being a single piece of bone or wood carved into a rounded oval shape. Some of these early Egyptian spoons had handles while others were perfectly round, lacking any kind of stem altogether. Egyptians typically ate with their right hands, reserving their left hands for less savory tasks like cleaning themselves after going to the bathroom. Both cultures loved adopting ideas from other societies, including Egyptian eating utensils. This was typically done tableside, allowing the diner to savor the aroma before consuming the beverage. Other types of Roman spoons included the patu, which was used for serving porridge, and the calirio, a small spoon used to flavor drinks. As far as European history is concerned, this was a dark age, but it was actually quite a bright time for the development of the mixing bowl. Before this innovation, medieval people struggled to evenly combine ingredients when cooking, leading to bland and unappetizing dishes. Then someone decided to try spinning the bowl instead of stirring the contents. This proved so effective that it quickly became standard practice, and the mixing bowl remained indispensable throughout the centuries. Most Roman spoons were made from silver, although bronze and ivory were also common materials. Now, it might seem like a silly distinction, but it really helped improve working conditions for medieval cooks. We've already mentioned using them to play games, and many of you probably remember licking the frosting off the spoon as a kid. But spoons were also sometimes used as tools. For instance, you might have seen pictures of construction workers balancing on a steel beam high above the street. If the worker gets tired, he can simply use his spoon to rest on the beam until his energy returns. Of course, you shouldn't try this at home, unless you live on a very tall building. As you might have guessed, beating eggs by hand was a real pain, so someone finally invented a tool to do the job more efficiently. Whenever someone needs to pound something, but no hammer is handy, the next best thing is a spoon. You might not want to use an antique silver teaspoon for this purpose, but the cheap metal ones you get with disposable cutlery are perfect. One last way that people used spoons before throwing them away was as fish bait. The fish don't care what they're biting, so a shiny spoon does the trick. Plus, it prevents the angler from losing a valuable fishing lure. Up until this point, it hadn't really changed much since the days of the ancient Egyptians. And thank you for watching. However, that doesn't mean that new types of spoons weren't still being invented. Take the grapefruit spoon. For instance, when the fruit became popular in Europe, someone thought it would be a good idea to develop a spoon for eating it. Unlike regular spoons, the grapefruit spoon had tiny ridges inside the bowl. These helped break apart the flesh of the fruit, making it easier to consume. It didn't look anything like the egg beaters we use today. People had been draining fat from their food for hundreds of years, but it wasn't until the 1800s that someone invented a spoon specifically designed for the task. During the same time period, the soup ladle became a common addition to dinner tables. This oversized spoon allowed diners to serve themselves soup without spilling any. It also helped prevent servers from taking too long to refill empty bowls. Instead, it was just a wire loop attached to a wooden handle. This rudimentary tool did the trick though, and it eventually evolved into the modern egg beater. As society progressed, gold was reserved for special occasions and the emperor's taste. The Greeks, however, changed them to fit their own tastes. Greek spoons still had long handles, but they curved at the end to form a small bowl. This innovation allowed users to collect food and liquid more efficiently, and it also helped keep the utensil balanced in the hand. The Romans took things a step further with the addition of spouts. Not only did this help direct food and drink into the mouth, but it also added an element of elegance to the dining experience. So, two-handed spoons would have been out of the question. These days, most people eat using only their right hand or a combination of right hand and mouth. But in ancient Egypt, this wasn't the case. To ensure that their precious left hand stayed clean, Egyptians developed self-holding spoons, essentially ladles with long handles. Archaeologists uncovered an example of this design at the royal burial site of Tut. The 9-inch handle allowed the user to hold the spoon away from their body, ensuring it wouldn't contaminate their person. They were ideal for scooping thick liquids and soft foods like fruit. Because these early spoons were made from natural materials, none have survived to the present day. We only know about them thanks to cave paintings that depict the process of making them. After all, how do you drink soup without making a mess? For some people, this is their favorite part of the meal. This was efficient because coconuts are found all over tropical regions of the world, and they make great containers for liquids. But as far as eating utensils go, the coconut cup is pretty rudimentary. That honor goes to this spoon, which emerged at least 15,000 years before our era. It's fun to twirl pasta around the spoon and flick it up and down onto your tongue like it's some kind of weird game. But for everyone else who has never heard of said game, the humble spoon is a pretty simple tool. You can tell just by looking at it how it works. No instructions or manuals required. But despite its apparent simplicity, the spoon has an extraordinarily long history dating back more than 20,000 years, part 10,000 BC, the prehistory of eating utensils long before the invention of plates, bowls, or even cups. Primitive humans were already using makeshift eating utensils. Sometime before 10,000 BC, someone came up with the idea of using a hollowed-out coconut shell as a cup. We don't know exactly who invented the spoon, only that it first appeared somewhere in Africa, part 3000 BC. The first Egyptian spoons by 3000 BC. Spoons had spread throughout the Middle East and North Africa, where they were made from both bone and metal, part 1000 BC. Greek and Roman influences. After the fall of ancient Egypt, the civilizations of Greece and Rome rose to prominence. Another popular type of spoon during the Roman era was the cucchiaires, a long-stemmed desert spoon with a deep bowl used for serving wine. Part 500 AD. The medieval mixing bowl. The period following the decline of the Western Roman Empire was known as the Middle Ages. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. However, in fact, the mixing bowl led to the invention of the egg beater, part 1800s, modern variations by the 1800s. The basic design of the spoon was well established. Another notable invention was the perforated spoon, which was used to drain grease from meat. Part 20th century. Forgotten uses. During the 20th century, people began to forget about some of the older uses of the spoon. Another almost forgotten use for spoons is as an impromptu hammer. So those are just a few of the ways people used spoons throughout history. Do you know any other obscure spoon facts? Let us know about them in the comments below.